redneck teens with massive machines, everybody living beyond their means, brotherly love from the messed up genes, nobody wants to intervene.
Hi everyone, and happy Cinco de Mayo. Today is Tuesday, May 5th. As a matter of historical record, I'm Dr. Anthony B. James, Dean of the SomaVeda College of Natural Medicine and founder of the Thai Yoga Center and the SomaVeda Thai Yoga program of integrated traditional therapies. Today is lesson number 2 on what is SomaVeda Thai Yoga Ayurveda, 49 systems of self-expression and healing. I'm picking up where I left off in lesson 1. So if you haven't seen lesson 1 yet, please go back and watch lesson 1. Starting today on page 21 in the book. If you don't have the book, please, if you're in the Learn Thai Yoga online program, it's a PDF text that you can look at. If you're not in the Learn Thai Yoga online program and you're seeing this video, you'll need to go to beardedmedia.com and order the book. Okay, so then you can follow along and make your own notes and your own expressions of understanding as we're going through this documentation. I hope today, I've got a really special thought in my mind today as I go through this, is applications, practical applications in functional medicine. As you listen to what I have to say today, think about what you know. Think about the skill sets that you already have. Think about how you could market or how you could create unique distinctions that are more personal to you as a practitioner, therapist, or physician that you could market to people to get them into your practice, get them out of their house, or which you could use either as an online video or phone consultation type of practice. We need knowledgeable healers, therapists, practitioners, and physicians practicing true medicine now more than ever. So that is actually what's on my mind today. We'll see what comes out, if anything interesting comes out. But mostly I'm going to go right through the book because I want you to hear these words and explanations in the voice of the person who wrote them, and that would be me. All right, starting on page 21. Everything that's alive moves. Everything that's alive moves. Movement and motility are signs of life. As one surveys the body and the person in general, observe that which is simply not moving or motile in relation to surrounding structures, tissues, and functions. The function of everything in the person is to participate and support either contraction and or expansion. This contraction and expansion alternately represent the organic engines of the life process. There are no completely fixed or rigid structures in the body. Even so-called rigid structures such as osseous tissues or bones, skeleton, bones and skeletal components in a healthy state are alive, malleable, flexible, permeable, etc. They're in a continuous state of expansion and contraction in all dimensions, reacting and adapting to both internal pressure and circulation, pushing out, and external pressure on the surface. So fundamentally, understand this. Everything that's alive moves, because this movement becomes one of the most fundamental underpinnings or presuppositions, if you will, of differential diagnosis, reading signs and symptoms, whether it doesn't matter what system. Every bone is a complete cosmos, an entity living a life of its own, unique and peculiar to its allocation of service in the body. This bone, though, shares its rhythm of life and function with the organic community of its environment, of the body proper, and responds and adapts to internal and external pressures and influences originating in said body proper. The bones are integral to the functioning immune system as the marrow or hollow center of the bones is the origin of antibody, T cell production, lymphocytes, etc. Let me say this again. I can't stress this enough. Right now, there's a lot of talk about immune system, functioning immune systems or not, and how suppressed immune system function in patients leads to, as a factor in comorbidity or premature death by opportunistic infection, whether it's novel coronavirus or common influenza or cancer. All right? But if we go to the root, the base of the mountain of the immune system, the first thing that we come across is the earth element, which is represented as the osseous structures, the bones or the skeleton. Now, to help you understand this a little better, I go into a little more detail here. Every bone is a complete cosmos, an entity living a life of its own, unique and peculiar to its allocation of service in the body. Now, think about it. We probably, as an ordinary person, you probably don't think about your bones very much at all. However, we do, and in traditional Thai medicine, for example, there is a spirit, an intelligence, which is called Quan, which rules, regulates, or controls, if you will, the life of every individual bone. So the small bone on the end of my metacarpal, my fifth metacarpal, has its own unique spiritual entity, if you will, intelligence, consciousness, that is unique to this bone, that is separate and distinctive from every other structure in the body. And it has a job, and its job is not just to be holding the fingernail for the little finger. Its job is vital, it's synergistic, and it's sympathetic to the cumulative work of all of the skeleton or all of the bones in the body. And there's even, we know without doubt that there's a connection between the immune system and emotions. This leads us to the following statement. Emotions affect immune functions, which affect osseous function, which affects immune functions, which affect emotions. Oh my God, I know it. This is circular logic. Let me say it again. Emotions affect immune functions. All right, psychoneuroimmunology, especially research beginning with Dr. Candace Pert and others with similar research into pheromones and hormones and the molecules of emotion and how immune system affects, or how emotions affect functioning of the immune system. For example, how if you get mad for a minute, that actually affects your immune system. Emotions affect immune functions, which affect osseous function. So emotions can actually have an impact on the function of the skeleton. This has been reaffirmed, this has been stated and reaffirmed for thousands of years in traditional Chinese medicine, especially in conversations relating to bone marrow qi, for example. And it is affirmed in Marma Sakitsa and Kaya Sakitsa in Ayurveda. Osseous function, which affects immune functions, which affect emotions. So healthy emotions have a balancing effect on skeletal function, which has a balancing effect on immune system function, which has a balancing effect on emotions. Oh my God. So think of all the therapeutic interventions, all the protocols, all the traditional chirothesia, laying on of hands, hands-on work, intervention, mechanical interventions that have an impact on correcting bending, correcting subluxation, stimulating growth and density of osseous structures, and all of the infinite variety of these things. And now you're starting to see that there's a correlation between manual therapy and emotion, manual therapy and immune system, manual therapy and the life of the osseous structures in the body or the skeleton. In Thai, the skeleton energy that moves through the skeleton is called sen kalatari, and it represents the distribution of pranic and chakra energy to all the disparate parts of the body and eventually to the skin, hair, and nails, not just to the extremities. We also have reason to believe that the emotional state at any given moment in time, such as depression, resignation, anxiety, etc., can be reflective of the immune system's actions and status, suppressed or overly excited as example. So again, osseous function and state can affect the immune system, which can affect or be seen in the emotions. I'm going to say this a lot of different ways. On the flip side, we see how emotions, chronic states of extreme or debilitating emotions, can depress the immune system. That's a scientific fact. That these strong, negative, persistent emotional states can literally cause the body's healing functions of maintenance, defense, and growth to shut down, indicating a two-way system of influence and dynamic interaction. A healthy, mobile, dynamic skeleton supports a healthy, dynamic, robust, responsive immune system, which in turn supports the same in the emotional state and life of the person and vice versa. To the degree that any body system, any, A-M-Y, capital A-M-Y, function or structure is not moving or showing motility or showing evidence of motion, which we would say is an indication of the elements ether and air in Ayurveda, or lom or air in traditional Thai medicine, either local within itself or in direct sphere of influence, and or motility within the functional place or space or system of which it is part, whatever that is demonstrating a loss or a misallocation of energy, prana, vitality, and orgonomic expression of life. And I'm using a Reichian term there from Wilhelm Reich. Page 22. We must observe any stagnant anything and bring movement, vitality, and stimulation to the stuck part or function or quality and encourage a return to the viability and functional integrity as part of the living system. Once we philosophically understand our work, we can see many different ways of practically manifesting the underlying principles in positive results for ourselves and for our clients. Each different emphasis systematically applied becomes a treatment methodology all unto itself. And that could be another way of describing a specialty or an area of specialization. Because our outcomes cover the gamut from spiritual psyche to emotional mental to physical structural, i.e. the matrix, somatic, and tangible physical bodies, or TPB, and all of their manifestations, the variety of expression of the work in practice and in possibility is virtually limitless. Take this to heart. I can't stress it enough. We do not come from a position or idea that we are purely constrained or limited in what we do or how we do it. This applies as long as the underlying maxim, ahimsa, do no harm, Hippocratic Oath, actual Hippocratic Oath, is followed. Okay, so before I go into the next section, let me stress this again. That why do we have philosophy? Why do we teach philosophy in traditional schools? By the way, if a school says it's traditional and they have no philosophical basis, lesson plan, instruction, discipline of philosophy, then by definition, in my opinion, they're not traditional. They're something. They may have some antecedents or roots in some traditional lineage or system, but they are not traditional because all traditional systems start with philosophy, not technique. Technique, as my teacher, Pak Kru Samai Mesaman of Putai Sawan School in Nong Kham, Thailand, now in Ayutthaya. He's passed away, okay? But Pak Kru used to say, technique is like stars in the sky. It's unlimited, it's infinite. So having a system that's based on simply mastering technique is like a dog chasing its tail. So we have this little physical meme. So the dog chasing its tail is the dog constantly chases its tail, but the dog can never catch its tail. There's no end to technique, variety, or perfection of technique. So you can get lost in the minutiae. You can get lost in the forest, the therapeutic technique forest for the trees. Philosophy gives us a platform, a foundation that allows us to have a particular point of view, which allows us to have a context of client relating to the techniques that we have, and allow us to adapt, to create, to innovate, and to apply techniques to individuals in unique and charismatic fashion that is immediately practical and functional toward improving the health and wellness of the person that we're laying hands on. And in this infinite variety of applying the philosophy with proven, effective, and safe techniques, there is the ability to adapt to the individual. The way I work is not the way that you will be working. So it allows us to personalize what we're doing, and that in and of itself will engender the support of longevity. We're likely to be able to keep doing what we do longer. We're going to be more expert and more understanding, more intuitive over time, more helpful, more valuable, more functional to our clients over time. Philosophy is the root of this, and I know some of you think it's a necessary evil. Oh, I'm going through a philosophy class. Oh my God, I did that in school and it was so boring. The reason it was boring is because whoever was teaching that philosophy class at the time was not able to convey to you that there was a real-time, present and prescient benefit to you to understand it. Real time for you and for your clients. I hope I can communicate that to you. So let's start with these 49 systems. Why? Every one of these systems can be isolated, can be emphasized, can be specialized, and can be your primary therapeutic function. It can be the primary service that you offer. It can be for marketing, specialization. At least that's what I hope for you. Because one size fits all is not why our system has survived 1,000 years. That's not it. Doing a repetitive vinyasa or flow or the same sequence of techniques done over and over again is not why our SomaVeda Thai Yoga indigenous traditional systems have lasted for 1,000 years. It's got to be more to it than that. I'm hoping that you're going to get it, that what I'm communicating to you is the more to it. And then I want you to think of this practically. As I go through these, think about what you want to do. Think about what you can do. Who do you want to reach? Who's your audience? Okay? And also think about how it relates to who you want to be in your life. And what kind of work do you want to do? And also over time, as your life situation changes, such as a lot of people have life situations changing right now, that one of these adaptations, one of these systems may be the solution to your near and distant future. That's what I hope for you. All right, so we'll start with number one. Number one's number one. All the others are maybe in no particular order, but number one is number one because it is the primary outcome, the most important system of application of why we do SomaVeda traditionally or Thai Yoga traditionally. The practical expression of loving kindness. The primary outcomes associated with the practice of ITTM indigenous Thai traditional medicine, are called Promiwi Hansi, or four divine, boundless, or states of mind without limitation. These four states are love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. As long as these four qualities are communicated, transmitted, and exemplified during a session, we say it was good, it was successful, and for this reason, even this reason alone, it is possible to have a Thai yoga session with little or no actual touching. So in a situation where there's quarantines and there's social distancing and physical distancing, being able to have an application of therapeutic intent, an application of a therapeutic protocol that does not involve actual touching could be of value to you. Certainly if you define your practice as a ministry, this should not be a stretch. In addition to the four divine states of mind, we practice and perform puja, or prayer and ritual healing, or acknowledgement of teachers, acknowledgement of our lineage, which is a multi-step protocol to first acknowledge the sacred space shared by client and healer, to honor and acknowledge the bodhisattvas and progenitors of our way and teaching, to generate the bodhicitta, or a perfect mental process of enlightened beings, through mantra recitation of Om Namo Shivaya, or Metta Sutra mantra or similar. We learn about this in our very first practitioner program in the level 1. We study both the puja, how puja is the beginning and ending of every traditional session and why. And then we learn that there are different ways to practice puja, either through mantra, mental affirmation, or prayer. And of course, in our system, in our school, the most famous mantra is called Om Namo Shivaya, or in the name of, or in respect of, the founder, Dr. Shivaya, the Buddha's stepbrother, who was also the first official medical doctor of the Thai, not Thai, but just of the Buddhist Sangha under the administration of the original Buddha. And it starts with Om Namo Shivaya, Silasa Ahang, Kaluniko Sapasatanang, Osata Tipamantang, Surya Jantang, Gomalapato, Pakasesi Wantami, Bantito Sumet Haso, Aloka Sumanahomi. So we also see that with a translation, a really good translation, in the Nuat Baran textbook. The Metta Sutra is in the back of your level 1 textbook. And it's considered a perfect meditation for unconditional love. Similar invoking or inviting of the essences and energies of love and healing to move within the body of ourselves and our client, and listening and sacred attunements. This prayerful and thoughtful meditation and attuning of various energies and the petitioning of sacred and symbolic metaphor of deity and ancient guides and role models provides the basis for all further communication and expression of thoughtful ideals. Now, I'm also a priest or minister in the Eastern Orthodox Apostolic Catholic Church. So that's a Christian church. It's an Orthodox Christian church. And so we have prayers to Jesus, and we have prayers that acknowledge Mary, the Mother of God, the God the Father, God the Holy Spirit, and so on. Okay? So if you have a faithful orientation, you practice a religion, you can use your religious icons as the equivalent, the exceptional metaphors for the concept. So you know that when I talk about unconditional love, as a Christian, I'm talking about the role model of Jesus. You know that. But I'm also talking about the role model of other religious saints and sages. I'm also talking about the role of them all. Any teacher that teaches the importance of the expression of unconditional love. And what I want to say is, in our work, we don't believe that love is airy-fairy, and that medicine is separate from the expression of love, we believe that true medicine, by definition, is the expression of true love. And even any and all applications of physical pressure are intended to mainly convey the primary intentions of Promiwihan Si to balance and harmonize. The Tat Tang Si, or 4 Ayurvedic elements, and Tridosha, or 3 winds, humors, or energetically based body types. Much like the physical contact of a hug, you can convey care, consideration, and love. In the case of traditional Thai yoga, that physical pressure just happens to be highly sophisticated. So the fact that my chirothesic expression, my laying on of hands as a religious therapy, as a sacerdotal duty, is sophisticated, does not make it one iota less an expression of a philosophical and religious concept called, we term, unconditional love. Don't get hung up on this conversation that because you may have sophistication in your hands-on healing, that somehow that in and of itself disqualifies you as a religious therapeutic or practice, and qualifies you to be monitored, to be maintained, to be controlled, to be dictated to by some secular, governmental, or other corporate profit-based entity, saying that, well, you can believe what you want, you can love anybody you want, you just can't touch them. That is not true. It's not a legal statement. You do have a right to touch those you love, and the fact that you have sophistication in that touching is legally irrelevant. It's philosophically irrelevant. It's technically irrelevant. So, Promiwihan Si, the practical expression of loving kindness, and see, practical. Hands-on is practical, because we are practically interfering with the body, the mind, the spirit, the energy field of another person. Okay, moving on. Number 2. SomaVeda is a system of dancing meditation, a movement or motion restoration system. Think about it. A movement or motion restoration system. How about that? Beginning with observing that which is not moving or that which has lost the ability to contract and expand, and then restoring the living essence and function by restoring motion. Everything that's alive moves. Remember, that was a principle. Everything living that has either lost or is losing its ability to move is dying. By definition, how do I know? I look at you and I can tell if you're coming or going. How can I tell that? I look at you, your life, and your life within yourself, within your tangible physical body, your emotional life, your mental life, your spiritual life, your energetic life, your life in your community. And I say, are you in a contraction? Are you in expansion? What about you has lost its ability to show signs of life or movement? And is there more of that than the other? And that tells me if you're coming or going. That's a direct observation. That's a differential analysis or assessment that can be hugely valuable. And also, by the way, tells me where to start and what to focus on if I want to help you. What needs the most work first? Aside from what you think might need the most work first. We say that Nuwat, traditionally, is a form of Vipassana meditation. Vipassana and or insight meditation finds its origin and home in the Theravada Buddhist traditions and practices of Thailand. The Thai monks teach and practice Theravada Buddhism, and one of their primary tools for practicing Theravada Buddhism is meditation called Vipassana, sometimes also called not just insight meditation. Jack Kornfield started that, I think, but also called walking meditation. Why? It emphasizes movement. It's dynamic. It's a widespread practice in many countries, not just in Thailand, including but not limited to Tibet, India, Burma, Sri Lanka, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and has spread to the West via Europe and the U.S. All right, page 24. Vipassana teaches one to be mindful of the moment, every part of the moment. It's famous for its incorporation of so-called walking meditation forms, a dynamic, extroverted meditation form done with other people. You can do it by yourself, but mostly it's practiced in groups. We divide meditation forms into two primary variations: passive introspective and active introspective. These two passive or active forms can be either object-focused or not. Thai Nuat in SomaVeda is an active introspective, dynamic, and object-focused meditation. It's another way to define what is SomaVeda. It's an active introspective, dynamic, and object-focused meditation with the client and your relationship to the client and your own orientation and state of mind as the object of the meditation. It can be practiced in this way without any focus on any external result or outcome. When practiced in this way, the participant and the practitioner both receive benefits, as would be common from any other form of meditation. So you can do SomaVeda solely and exclusively as a form of dancing meditation, as a form of Vipassana meditation. You can market SomaVeda Thai Yoga as a dancing meditation. You can advertise or market or bring clients in who want to learn meditation, and then you can practice SomaVeda with them as the dynamic meditation. You'll benefit, they'll benefit, everybody happy, happy. There's a lot of meditation teachers right now out in the world, a lot of yoga teachers that advertise meditation. A lot of people are practicing mindfulness meditation. Why not practice, why not teach, why not communicate to your clients the original Vipassana meditation, hands-on, practiced by the people who invented, literally in the 20th century, Vipassana meditation, which in my opinion started with my teacher Ajahn in Bangkok. And Ajahn Ajahn was my first meditation teacher in Vipassana. And this is what he taught me. He says, even though there's a structure of walking, taking a certain number of steps, turning, taking a certain number of steps, the idea of what to focus on, what not to focus on, and so on and so forth. But Ajahn told me that this can be done many ways. That the structure of the walking, for example, was not the only way. And there are some really good books that you can find, I'm sure. Just do an Amazon search on Vipassana, or Thai say Vipassana, but Vipassana Bhavana, Bhavana, the core philosophy of Vipassana. And then as you're looking at these really exhaustive texts, because there's a lot, okay, think of SomaVeda and Nuat and the exchange that we do as the dancing meditation. You'll see we meet every essential criteria to be a traditional form of Vipassana meditation. This could be your focus. This could be your salvation. Because even during the current pandemic crisis, meditation is still legal. Page 24. Number 3. SomaVeda Thai Yoga is the system of bending the bones. Okay? Bending the bones. Toning, strengthening, and organizing. Aligning in such a way as to stimulate, restore, strength, balance, align the electrical, magnetic, circulatory polarity, as well as increase durability of the skeletal muscles and skeletal structures of the entire body. Many Thai Yoga positions, which are also classic Hatha Yoga asana, exert enough specific pressure to actually deform or bend the osseous structures or bones. These asana, or positions, range from push and pull type of techniques such as yanaka, or push the leg, to broad, heavy, compressive movements and positions, such as when doing hands-free and walking or barefoot Thai. In the hands-free variations or applications, you literally walk or stand on the client with one or both legs. As the tissue compresses and distorts here, there's more than adequate pressure to bend the bones. And I mean literally, physically bend the bones. There's much research to suggest that direct pressure on bony or skeletal structures has healthful and beneficial effects. And I want to start with an old associate of mine. I actually knew him in person, and we had phone conversations for a period of time until he actually passed away, and that's Dr. Robert O. Becker, orthopedic surgeon, former head of VA research for the VA at the NIH, Dr. Robert O. Becker, orthopedic. He wrote books called The Body Electric, where he actually talked about that bones work in an electromagnetic environment, and that it's part of their chemical process that when bones are stressed, their electrical covalence changes and their magnetic polarity changes, and the density of the electrical magnetic fields they produce changes, and that these changes, which are directly result of external stimulation or internal stimulation that's sufficient to bend the bones, is what drives the bone's growth. What stimulates the bones not only to become denser, to attract calcium out of the blood and interstitial fluid, but to produce the immune factors of lymph and T killer cells and so on and so forth. Traditional Thai yoga, SomaVeda system, we have 1,000 different ways that we can bring exterior pressure to bear on the body that are strong enough, that are powerful enough, that are sustained long enough, that they will actually compress and decompress and actually distort the shape of the bones. And I believe this is actually one of the most powerful specializations of SomaVeda Thai Yoga as a traditional system. This bending and compressing of the bones, compressing and decompressing, traction and decompression of the bones, directly relates to the Titar, Dit-Da, classical Thai bone setting. So in other words, Thai orthopedics, Thai physical therapy and Thai orthopedics. So it's not just about reducing osseous subluxation or reducing misalignments in skeletal segments, but it's also about creating correct alignments through every joint in the body, and it's also about bending those bones enough that they produce factors, energy factors, hormone factors, lymphatic factors, electrical magnetic factors that are reduced or maybe don't even happen in the body without that external stimulus. And then the bone setting is necessary at some point, because if I'm putting enough stress on the body to bend the bones, it's very important that the alignments of those joints be as correct as possible. So we think, for example, we are originally where chiropractic comes from. We are originally where orthopedics comes from. There's a lot of reasons why I have this. For me personally, it's because D.D. Palmer, who's considered the inventor or founder of chiropractic, invented chiropractic after a grand tour of Asia. And in his own memoirs, What is Chiropractic?, he discusses the Asian bone setters. These would have been the Ayurvedic and Thai bone setters that he witnessed and maybe he experienced that was inspirational for him. Well, since Puthai Sawan, our most important founding school and lineage, is right now 1,000 years old, the chances are that when he was in Thailand or in Southeast Asia or Burma or whatever at the turn of the century, that the bone setters that he described were in fact graduates, teachers or practitioners, therapists and doctors who came out of our traditional school. And of course, we're one of 7 traditional schools, all sharing this idea that traditional Thai yoga is a system of bending the bones. So you could specialize in this, And as an advanced student, certainly in SomaVeda, I will teach you the bone setting. I will teach you the more advanced techniques to facilitate the free flow of energy through the skeletal system and stimulate the bone marrow chi. Okay, great. Still on 24, let's go to item or system number 4. SomaVeda is a system of traction and decompression of the skeleton. I already led into that. Focusing on the joints and connective tissues of the body, including bones, ligaments, cartilage, and connective tissue, fascia. Very quickly, the practitioner learns the principle of the highest potential for gain or loss of energy occurs at the joints. All right, let me say this again. Again, it's a founding principle. We have energy moving through the body, and we are constantly gaining energy, we're constantly losing energy, and we're constantly moving energy about within us. And in fact, when I say energy, I mean the matrix body, all of the different kinds of energy, from electrical to chi. The highest potential for gain or loss of energy occurs at the joints. That's why in traditional Thai medicine, the next demarcation out from the core chakra, the 7 core chakra, are the loam. And the loam are the secondary chakra or energy centers in the body that facilitate the flow of prana, air or wind, through the sen lines or energy channels. But these loam are found in the nexus of the major skeletal segments, in the shoulders, in the hips, in the elbows, in the knees, in the wrist, the ankles. In fact, there's a loam between every 2 bones. Okay? So the highest potential for gain or loss of energy as the energy travels through the skeletal system, senkalatri or the bone marrow chi, is when the energy is coming or going through a joint. That's why the traditional vinyasa and flows, all 108 of them, emphasize mobility and restoring full range of motion and reduction of stress and tension to every joint in the body, and it's why we work every joint in the body. It's a hallmark and identifying feature that all Hatha Yoga, and certainly facilitated Hatha Yoga styles, such as indigenous traditional Thai Yoga, emphasize articulation and opening. Opening means decompress of the joints. There are literally thousands of techniques where one pulls or pushes to create expansion and opening in every joint. And the bursa of the joints, the synovial fluid of the joints. There are leverage positions and rotations that do the same. Look at how Yanaka, or the push the leg position, which is so classic for us, targets the knee and ankle, and how many other similar applications positions do the same for hip, arm, and shoulder. And in fact, Yanaka actually is a 3-joint traction and decompression for pelvis, knee, and ankle. Page 25. SomaVeda is a system of pranic healing. SomaVeda is a system of pranic healing, bringing harmony and equilibrium of energy balance to the matrix body and all of its constituents and components. We say in SomaVeda that we bring energy, attention, consciousness, breath, and pressure to bear on each line, point, wheel, and the whole person we are working with. All of these in some way target the pranamaya kosha, or the pranic body, also we term as the matrix body. Energy, attention, consciousness, breath, and pressure. Those are the 5 things that I say that SomaVeda brings to bear to as a therapy protocol to the client. And also notice as I do those 5 things, energy, attention, consciousness, breath, and pressure, that pressure is the little finger. And it is the least important out of all of those 5 attributes or qualities intentions that we're bringing to the client. Every application or extension of energy or pressure is seen, visualized as an extension of the breath or one's own prana affecting the breath or prana of the client. Pressure of any kind, this is super important, pressure of any kind is literally seen as a tool for creating this focus, not the end result sought after. Physical pressure can be seen from this point of view as indicated incidental contact used intentionally to gather the attention and focus of the breath. This is why we say it's possible to do a session and to be effective without actually touching the client or using very light pressure. There are many stories of our masters working entirely in this way. We say that the sick or distressed areas of the body have poor or weak pranic circulation, and by restoring vital pranic body to its vibrant capacity, we see a reduction in the weak or sick areas. I want to go back to my chirothesia example of a hug. We have many examples of saintly and loving people laying hands on other people, and those individuals recovering or gaining recovery solely as a consequence of this sacred touching, this extension of divine love. So pressure is not the determining factor as to whether you get the benefit of this or not. Okay? When I touch you, when I do thumb pressing, rolling thumb press, reinforced rolling thumb walking, okay? Yes, I am making incidental contact with you, but every point of contact is an exchange of prana, an exchange of chi, an exchange of orgone, an exchange of vital life breath, an exchange of divine essence and consciousness. And those are my primary outcomes. Anything that's incidental as far as result or consequence physically or physiologically because of the pressure is incidental. You could market SomaVeda Thai Yoga or SomaVeda Integrated Traditional Therapies exclusively as a system of pranic healing. You could say you're a pranic healer and use this methodology, use SomaVeda as your therapeutic protocol, and you are right on the money. It's protocol system number 5. Okay, protocol system number 6. SomaVeda is a system of preparing for meditation. Before we actually said it was a system of meditation, but now it's a system for preparing for meditation. So you could call it a pre-meditation system. And you could market it exclusively in meditative communities as a tool, as a system, as a therapeutic protocol, which would enhance individuals' ability to participate in any form of meditation. SomaVeda helps support and prepare the body-mind for the rigors and discipline of meditation and samadhi practice. Going back to the historic Buddha himself, and his doctor and venerated student, Jivaka, who was also a stepbrother in my opinion. That's the Mahapanasa text that relate to Jivaka as being the stepbrother of the Buddha. The Buddha ordered this medicine to be available to all the monks and would-be monks to assist them in their study and practice. Traditionally, this work has always been associated with the Theravada Buddhist practices of Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, formerly known as Burma, and Sri Lanka. The idea of practice and preparation, religious therapeutic model is found throughout Asia and Southeast Asia, from Tibet to India to Burma, Thailand, etc. For example, we say that everyone can meditate or at least learn how to meditate, but what if you have headaches? What if you have low back pain? What if you have knee injuries or pain that hurts and distracts you if and when you try to sit still? What if you have persistent negative emotions, fears, and such that interfere with your ability to learn? What if you have no conception of the how to stop moving or hold your breath? By balancing the dosha matrix body, reducing effects of trauma and stress in the person, by reducing their overt feeling of pain and discomfort that they carry with them to the meditation environment, we enable them to be more comfortable in their own skin. Now their ability to be still, to sit, to walk, to focus for extended periods of time, to cross their legs. Without pain, allows and supports the learning and practice of meditation. Sadly, many people quit their meditation practice because they have what they feel is too much pain and discomfort. These individuals would be much more successful if they had tried meditation practice after a balancing program or a therapeutic day program, which is 7 sessions. Thai yoga, Thai Ayurveda, is as genuine an expression. Let's see, did I miss one? No, 8. Yes, I did. Okay, let's go back. I want to say a little bit more about preparing for meditation. So, for example, because in SomaVeda integrated traditional therapies, Thai yoga practice, we also emphasize emotional balancing. Have you ever tried to meditate when you're angry? Have you ever tried to meditate when you're seriously depressed? Have you ever tried to meditate when you're anxious? So our tapping methodology, BETEFT, which is part of balancing the emotions as an emotional focus in SomaVeda, is amazingly helpful to anyone who would want to meditate. Now let's go another way. Have you ever tried to meditate when you had a migraine? Oh, I have. Not so much. Doesn't work. I once went to meditate with my Tibetan meditation teacher, Lobsang Tenzin Negi, and at the in Atlanta, Georgia. This was after the formation of the Tibetan Resettlement Project. He was one of the first people who came to Atlanta to teach Tibetan meditation, shamatha, and Vipassana meditation. And so we used to go to his apartment and we would practice. And I once made great effort to get to his apartment in Buckhead and to be on time and be there for the meditation. I think there was about 8 people at that time who were showing up for the meditation. And no sooner had he rung the bell and started to do the meditation than I had severe cramping and diarrhea. Well, because previous to going to meditation, I hadn't eaten, it was late, I thought I was going to run out of gas, so I'd stopped and I got some fast food, which turned out to be fast onset diarrhea-inducing food. And by time I got on my Zafu in front of my teacher to begin practicing this Tibetan meditation, I had explosive diarrhea. And I had to jump up and run out and go to the bathroom. And it was bad enough that I basically couldn't go back. I had to excuse myself and beat feet home so I could take care of myself. Okay? Now, if this was chronic, now I think it was because I had food poisoning and a mild salmonella, okay, outbreak. But if it was chronic, millions and millions and millions of people have chronic diarrhea. Millions and millions and millions of people have abdominal pain from chronic constipation. In our SomaVeda nutrition program, our eating guidelines, we can handle these issues, and by doing so, we support people another way that we would support you to be able to do your meditation. The physical part, being able to sit, being able to kneel, being able to walk, being able to bend your knees, that goes without saying. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? It's hard to meditate when you have a lot of pain. It can be done, but it's hard. And if you have access to therapy, then I want to say it's unnecessarily hard because you can handle it. Okay, page 26, system number 7. SomaVeda is the system of treating armored points. Armored points. Trigger points. Areas of high neurologic activity. Let's go through it. SomaVeda Thai Yoga reduces the effects of armoring and armored points and the distortion of both the matrix and the tangible physical body which they represent. Thai Yoga accomplishes this by discerning, revealing, and treating armoring and bio-neuro-locale of negative emotions and correcting disruptions to the body's energy system of which they are symptomatic. So another definition of what is an armored point, okay, is it is an area of bio-neuro-locale of negative emotions and a disruption in the body's energy field. Locally, you can identify it, you can put your finger on it, you can feel it. Armored points have various names or different designations depending on how you look at them. So there are different systems that sort of acknowledge that there are points and something going on with these points, but depending on how secular or how Western or how energetic or how spiritual they are, they have different terminology to refer to them. These are sometimes referred to as Lom, Marma, Mulatra, Bendi, trigger points, acupoints, areas of high neurologic activity, chakra points, sore points, knots, granthi, etc. We think of them as either active or latent. So even when you can't identify a point, doesn't mean there's not a point there. There are points that are there, whether you know they're there or not. Active armored points are currently active in causing pain. Active armored points are causing distortion and discomfort right now, or dysfunction right now, or all of the above in any combination which can be seen or felt. Latent armored points, unlike active armored points, are essentially hidden. They are causing distortion. However, it's below a conscious threshold or level of activity which is readily observable. They may be invisible to both the person who has them as well as to the person trying to help them. Generally, though, both types of armored points are discernible, if not directly, then indirectly. And then we have this axiom, by their faults you shall know them. In other words, by their distortion patterns, whether mind, body, spirit, energy, matrix body, TPB, by their distortion patterns, that is the indication or the assessment to find them. In order to treat them effectively, they must first be observed, identified, and quantified in some fashion by assessment. These primary assessment tools, specific to locating armored points and their patterns of distortion, is by palpation, evaluation, postural analysis, asana analysis, and applied kinesiology, i.e. muscle testing and medical radionics. And I also want to say this, there are energetic assessments too, which are based on taking of the pulse in Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine, which can lead you to key points which are causing distortion, because the ripple of distortion travels the full length of the meridian and the meridian that relates to that meridian. So we have a primary, a secondary, a yin, and a yang meridian. Meridians work in pairs. But the control of the activity of the meridians in the tangible physical body occurs at key identifiable points called acupoints, and all acupoints are not equal. In Thai system, in SomaVeda Thai Yoga and traditional Thai medicine, these points are called Lom or Marma, and they're on sen lines or prananadi. Reducing or eliminating the armored points at the same time addresses the underlying negative emotional causes, the structural distortion, and the disruptions and balances of the body's energy system. Now, I also want to come back to postural distortion. So, armored points are not, well, let's say armored points are a cause and an effect. In other words, if you have a distortion in an organ, which is causing distortion in a sen line or energy line that's associated with the organ, and you then have a distortion, a contracture, if you will, almost always sympathetic atonia, or a contracture in a specific point or locale. That point, most likely 99 times out of 100, will be a secondary or tertiary chakra. That means a lom or a marma. And if those points are in contracture, all the soft tissue around them will be in contracture. And because the soft tissue is in contracture, the muscles, the connective tissue, the fascia, tendons, ligaments, and so on, they will change the shape of the skeleton. They will change, literally, they will change the shape. And this cascading effect of contracture, of the evidence of the sympathetic atonia, will appear as a postural distortion. In other words, you will be bent and you will be crooked. You will be listing to starboard, as we say in boating. And to the degree that you're imbalanced and these points are active, you'll be aware of it intrinsically in your own body. You'll be able to see it in your own mirror. People around you will be able to see it. And a trained person might be able to see you in your distortion pattern, walking down the street, across the street, a block away. It can be that obvious. So you can sell, you can practice, you can specialize in SomaVeda as a system of treating armored points. And there's a lot more information. Again, I refer back to Dr. Becker's research, Leon Chaital's research, Dr. Janet Travell's research, even though there's some scuttlebutt about how neurologic trigger points like in neuromuscular therapy have been quote-unquote discredited. You know, they have their reasons for doing this. It's still a valid concept in acupuncture and Ayurveda and traditional Thai medicine. And many neuromuscular therapists who've been practicing NMT for many years, like myself. I was actually certified in NMT in the 80s as an advanced certified neuromuscular therapist by, give credit, Judith Walker Delaney and in her neuromuscular system. In practice, I haven't found anything to discredit it. So that's my own experience with treating trigger points. But even if I didn't know the neuromuscular therapy, had never had a day of training in it, if you just did the point-specific emphasis that we teach in every SomaVeda training as your specific protocol for treating armored points and did it methodically, going through a therapeutic day protocol, rotating through the different attitudes so you can have a more specific emphasis, spending more time on the more heavily armored or contracted areas than others, and if you did nothing else but work on the breath and do that, you would have miracles which would occur from your practice. Now, the next system of SomaVeda is a system of Ayurveda. Is maybe going to require a little more discussion. So I'm going to save that for lesson number 3. So we're ending lesson number 2 on page 26. And we're going to be moving in the next lecture, continuing on page 26 to SomaVeda Therapeutic System number 8. SomaVeda is a system of Ayurveda. Thank you and God bless. Practice what you preach. Be what you know. God bless. And Sawadee-ka. Kunsabairida.
Under the wheels of your massive RV. All of these things I've come to accept.